Hello, my friends. My name is Antonio, and you are welcome to Italy, a place to love YouTube channel. The channel where every day I show you a property for sale in the Italian market. So, my friends, let's start today's video because in today's video I want to talk about costs, let's say, related with the agencies, with estate agents, with realtors in Italy. All right, which, anyway, for me, in my opinion, many people are complaining simply about the cost of these third party, let's say, estate agents, realtors in Italy. And so I want to discover, I want to investigate the world of the estate agents in Italy, simply for you to understand better the dynamics and, anyway, final cost, because I know who are watching my videos are people who are mainly interested to buy properties in Italy. But so, my friends, let's investigate, let's find out as much as we can. And anyway, before I start the video, please put like and subscribe. Hit the like button, like most of the people say. Subscribe if you like my contents. It helps my channel to grow. And anyway, to give you as much more news as possible about Italy and the housing market, the Italian housing market. But so, my friends, let's start, and let's start talking about from the fees, from the estate agents' commissions. All right, let's understand this word about the fees, about the commission in Italy, because in my opinion, sometimes are crazy costs, and I will tell you why and when. Now, in Italy, real estate agent commissions usually fluctuates. There's a range that goes between 2 and 4% of the property selling price. So, if we are talking about a property that is 100,000 euro, 2% is 2,000 euro, 4% is 4,000 euro. But it's not over, it's not finished, because to these 2 or 4 or 5%, depends, we need to add the VAT, which in Italy is called IVA, so 22% VAT. So on a price of 2%, on a cost that is around 2%, let's say the VAT is 400 euro, so 20% extra. So, but in this case, anyway, we are in a situation where I keep the minimum rate, the 2%. If we go to a 4%, we double, so it's 800 euro, and the final cost to the agent is about 4,800 euro. All right, so nearly 5%, let's say, including the VAT, of a property that costs 100,000 euros. So, on top of the solicitors, on top of all the other costs, our property will cost 105 with the agent fees. All right, an average of 3%. The percentage is usually applied to both parties. Now, this is crazy for me, simply that in Italy, a buyer has to pay agent fees, because I can understand the seller. I mean, for me, it should be only one of the two parties paying the fees. Generally, should be only the seller, because the seller can also play, from in my understanding, can play on the value of the property. So let's say, okay, I'm not very happy. I'm not very happy that I have to pay these fees as a seller. I might try to increase the value of the property. Like this, I'm gonna regain, let's say, my losses through the real value. But then we also have to understand the housing market, where we are, in which area, in which city, in which town, in which country, because country by country is changing. Although it is possible to negotiate, but personally I never heard any stories about negotiating. But it's crazy, seller and buyer have to pay both. So technically we already understand that from a property that cost 100,000 euro, okay, VAT at the moment we keep it apart because it's not part of the income, the net income of the agency, but around of an average of 4%, 3%, let's say 3% of a property that costs 100,000 euro, the agent put in his pocket 6,000 euro, all right, which is a lot. And for me, it's already a sign that the housing market is not going very well. If estate agents have to push their rates, their fees higher like that, for me, is a bit suspicious. Smells dodgy, in my opinion. But let me know if you have a better explanation, all right, below in the comment section. You're always welcome to share your opinion. Now, national average, 3% in the most common rate, but it can vary between 2 and 5 depending on the area and the agency. Who pays? Typically, both the seller and the buyer pay a commission. The VAT, 22%, so more than 22%. The higher the cost of the property, the higher are the commission. In large cities, in Milan, in Rome, or high-value areas, traditional agencies often ask between 3 and 4% or more per share. So can even be 5%. Online agencies, all right, that's not very interesting. Let's say important to know that for the luxury properties, the percentage might be lower. All right, this is a very important key point. So we have lower percentages for very expensive property, understandable, because anyway, for a property that costs 1 million, we see that the agent put in his pocket anyway a good amount of money, so can reduce and they still make a good profit. But the problem is for the low-priced properties, all right, because on this channel I'm focusing generally on properties which are not expensive. 20, 30, 40, 50, maximum 70, 75, never over 80,000 euro. That's wherever I'm searching for, I'm always try to stay under, below this amount of money. So, an example, 200,000 euro, 3% commission, 6,000 euro, excluded VAT. So we have to add the VAT, the VAT. An agent of a property that costs 200,000 euros, so put in his pocket 12,000 euro. And for me, it's a bit unfair. Let's say Italian realtors crazy cost, because I'd say for me smells dodgy. There's something which is not. I mean, if the market is fluid, if the market is moving, if there are a lot of properties selling, or maybe there are too many agencies, don't know. This makes me think that the prices are a bit particular. I want to understand, all right, this key point about, because as I said, most of the viewers on my channel are interested in lower prices, in lower properties, low price properties. Now, for a property with a value of less than 100 euros, okay, so let's focus. Let's take, for example, a property that costs 50,000 euro. The real estate agency costs often do not follow the standard percentage of 2-3%, simply because the price, as for the luxury, the percentage might decrease. For cheap properties, for inexpensive properties, it increases, and it increases badly sometimes, all right, but are oriented towards a fixed or minimum figure. So basically, there is a fixed rate. They don't follow under the 100,000 euro. They don't follow a percentage of the price, of the selling price of the property, but they go through a fixed rate. and they may agree. This fixed rate may range between 2,000 and 5,000 euro. For me, in my opinion, I never seen anything under 3,000. I never seen anything under 3,000. For me, the average for the properties which are under 100,000 euros, it's around 4, 5,000. That's what generally agencies are asking, which is simply crazy because we are talking about 10%. If a property it costs 50,000 euro and the fees are it's 5,000, I mean that's 10%. 10% that they may take from the buyer and from the seller with the excuse that the property price is lower. For me, it's wrong. Anyway, people interested in low prices properties, I mean, don't want to be squeezed, let's say, to put extra money on the table. I'm focusing on a inexpensive property that might be in need of renovation, so I have to spend more money on top, and then I have to pay as a buyer another extra 5,000 euro on a property that costs 5,000, because here it's also important to say that the average cost, important to say, so the additional cost for purchasing a house in Italy by foreign citizens amount to, on an average, between 10 and 15% of the purchase price. But if the property is inexpensive, and we go back to a 50,000 euro property, this percentage may increase, might go up maybe to 20%. And on 50,000 euro, 20% is 10,000, my friends. So it's very, very unfair. This is something that, anyway, is not obviously pushing people to buy, because if the costs increase, then to not forget that if someone is coming from another country with another exchange rate, with another currency, another exchange rate, this may increase even more in your currency. The example for the Canadian, for the Australian, for the American, for the British, okay, which are using different currencies. And so this could even increase the cost on your own currency. 50,000 euro, it might end up, I don't know, with this cost in dollars up to $75,000. Adding all the costs that I'm exaggerating a bit, but these are not wrong figures. Anyway, my friends, this is about the cost. Then I want to talk as well the properties for sale online, the one that I'm advertising. Now, here we have estate agents, we have realtors, which are selling their properties, the listed properties that they have, and obviously, okay, they might have their own office, but why not to sell online? Okay, online is the biggest window. People from all over the world can see your properties, like, and I'm doing this, so I'm even helping, technically helping, without having without a return, with zero return. I simply do it because I like to show, I like to investigate. I try to go to few agencies and they told me, no, we don't want, we are not interested. I wanted to make videos in person, okay, I say, but simply crazy, my friends. So for me, agencies, realtors, let's say. But let's talk about the online advertising. Now, I make videos about online ads, online properties for sale. And let's start. I took a few notes here. So these advertisings are never precise. Now, they are so imprecise, very poor description in the majority of the cases. They're so, anyway, not precise, that they're even making me, let's say, maybe working better on showing this property because I'm explaining better on my channel then and I'm also educating people to understand, because if I take an average property, I read the description, then I need the numbers of rooms. Uh, it's never matching. Basically, the description is always so confusing. I'm saying, but are they able to write a simple text, 10 lines, no more? I mean, it seems like they are immersed by so many jobs, and they have to hurry, so many properties, and they have to hurry simply to promote a property. I mean, it's in their interest to sell. So, and on top of this, the poor quality of the pictures. Now we see that the properties that I select are already the one that have a good amount of pictures, but you can't imagine, my friends. I'm saying 70, 80% of the properties that I'm searching when I do my research, when I do my search online, even if they are beautiful properties, even if they are attractive, but they don't have pictures. Sometimes they have 0 pictures, 3 pictures. How can you sell a property without pictures? I mean, that's simply crazy. For me, it's so unprofessional, extremely unprofessional. And it seems like estate agents don't care at all. It's simply it's like to hit against a wall. Simply, these people are not interested. The Italian, I'm talking about the Italian, because if I go on other markets in the world, I see they're more precise. They have interest to sell the property. Here in Italy, it seems like they don't even care. It's there if you want, if you're interested. And then you may contact, and they might even not be efficient, they might not reply. How many estate agents tell me, if you have a history, if you about contacting an agent and maybe never got a reply or disappearing. Anyway, it seems like they have no interest in selling properties. Then another problem of the listing online, why don't they disclose the the allocation of the properties? I will never understand what stops them to disclose the exact location. I want to buy that property. I want to know where the location is. And they say here, for privacy reason. I mean, you are selling your property. Are you not interested for people to understand, to know? This is totally upside down, in my understanding. Um, I went to an agent and I said, can I make a video of this property? I found an interesting property. I contacted an agent and I asked, listen, I'd be interested to make a video. I'm not asking any money. I didn't want any money. I said, just come with me. You know, he didn't want to come with me. I said, no, I don't want to waste my time. I mean, I'm promoting your property. There were a lack of pictures. The house was very interesting. The price was very interesting. They said, no, I don't want to come with you. I said, okay, give me the keys. I'm exaggerating. Obviously, I would always need, or for example, maybe there is an owner, not an owner, the owner, yes, the owner or the tenant. Maybe I can go with the owner. I don't have to go with the agent. No, the owner doesn't want to show the property. How can you sell a property if the owner doesn't want to show? But there are pictures on the wall. Remove the picture for a privacy reason. I mean, clean the house. You know how many advertisements I see online, and the properties are completely. They don't even care if there is rubbish on the floor. Now tell me if in your country this is a normal thing. What can be done to change this situation, my friends? How Italian estate agents can be educated? I'm wondering. I want to understand. Another topic that I want to discuss, we are nearly at the end of the video, is, my friend, my recommendation is always try to avoid agencies in Italy. Now, in Italy, there are so many properties for sale which are not listed online, which are not listed by an agents, so not online and not by agents. So they are sold by private sellers. That's the best thing. As I did, for example, in the house where I'm living, I bought without any agency. Okay, there was a price, I deal, I negotiate, I got a discount. So I got it for a very good price. The seller in the end was happy. But so if you can now, I know that if you are abroad, technically there's no way to avoid estate realtors. It's very hard to avoid because you have only two options to avoid an estate agent. The first one is to go yourself in person. You go through an area that you like. You take an holiday, let's say, in brackets, because it's not really an holiday. You might go 15 days, 20 days, you might give it a go, and you start walking around the town that you like. You picked before, you investigated yourself before. So you pick a town, let's say Spoleto in Umbria, you really like this town, for example. Okay, let's book an holiday. And you start walking in the street. When you walk in the street, in front of the house, you see the signs, Vendesi. Now, you might recognize if there is an agency, because sometimes even the agencies put for sale, Vendesi, Vendesi, Vendesi. So they put it, but you see there's always the name of the agency. So then, if you like that property, you can call the agency and pay the fees. I'm trying to let you avoid to pay the fees. So you go yourself on holiday and you start scouting yourself. All right? You start scouting and you start investigating. Then, obviously, you the seller, you contact the seller. Obviously, if you don't speak Italian, this is another problem. I guess in 99% of the cases, the seller doesn't speak English. So that's another point that I want to make it. Another point could be to find a trustworthy person that scouts for you. Technically, I could be this, all right, but still has a cost. Nobody is doing this for free. Now, technically, I could do this. I could scout maybe in the area where I am, but I'm not doing this at the moment. Maybe I will in the future. At the moment, I'm not really interested in scouting in person, by person, to go into a town, because it takes a lot of time, my friends. Actually, if you're watching up to now, I cannot even figure out how much should I ask to, I don't know, if I'm scouting for someone on someone's behalf, because it takes time. I need to go to that place. Okay, forget about the money that I need to spend for petrol, traveling, and so on. Then I might need to spend maybe a whole day just walking around, and so start searching, take a note, take numbers, take pictures from outside, then come back home and call all the sellers, asking for more for information, asking for the price, asking for pictures. So I find hard to quantify how much should I ask. And then my final question is, if I'm paying someone to scout for a property, in the end, maybe is it more convenient to go to an agency and pay the estate agent fees? Technically, this could be an option. I'm only saying this because, again, many properties are not for sale, are not listed online, or are not listed by an agent. So, and I'd say nearly 50% of the properties for sale, not everywhere, but a lot of sellers don't want to sell through an agency, so they refuse to pay these agent fees in Italy. So they decide to just put a sign out of the house, and you will see generally these signs, it's written Vendesi, and there's no advertising of the agency. If it's an agency or another one, they always have the referral on the sign Vendesi. So let me know, my friends. Maybe some could be more convenient to pay the agent fees, but again, going through an agency cuts 50% of the properties that you might be searching for because they're simply not listed by an agent and they're not online. Then the best option is to scout yourself. Okay, then okay, there is the issue of the language. Again, the trip might cost because obviously. So it's a kind of scale, you know. From one side, we have the cost of the agencies, and from the other side, we have the cost of scouting by person, which is which it costs because you have to pay accommodation, pay for the flights, the journey, and so on. Or the other one is to have someone scouting for you on your behalf. I don't know. There are YouTubers which are scouting for people. Uh, there are so many YouTubers nowadays showing properties. So what they do, they are scouting, and basically they also try to avoid agencies. These one that are scouting. So let me know. So my friends, and then cheekiness. The last thing I want to talk about the estate agent that now, I have a case, an interesting story that happened to me. One of my subscribers, one of my watchers, sent me a private email and said, Antonio, I have contacted this agency. I made a video of a property. I shared the link of this property below below in the description. This person didn't contacted me. It's fine. You don't have to contact directly me. This person called himself to the estate agent, and the estate agent was very cheeky. The property was 130 square meters, and the asking price was 59,000 euro. Then the estate agent sent sent a floor map of this property to the buyer by email and said, listen, the property is different. So the one showed in the advertising has a floor, didn't have a floor map, but the one that the estate agent sells to the buyer, to hypothetical buyer, wasn't matching, was clearly different. And the buyer, in my case, made a mistake because he thought there could have been some problems with the cadastral plan, simply because the one I showed in the video and the one on the floor map were not matching. All right. And so the buyer, hypothetical buyer, start thinking, oh, Antonio, he sent me an email. Say, what's the problem? Is there an issue with the cadastral plan on this property? And in the end, I find out, my friend, that the estate agent tried to sell another property for the same price, smaller, because the floor map sent to the buyer was only 80 square meters. The one advertised was 130. So we are talking about 500 square meters less, 6,000 square feet, no, not 6,000, sorry, 600 square feet less. I mean, it's a quite big amount, and for the same amount of money, I can understand if you're saying, oh, I'm selling these 80 square meters instead of 130 for, I don't know, 20,000 euro less, 15,000 euro less, instead of 59, 45, because you like this building, you like this area. No, they tried to sell another property, and I replied to this person that contacted me in person by email. And I said, listen, for me, they are only trying to sell you another property because the floor map that they sent you is completely different. In the one that I show in the video, there were 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms. In the floor map that they're showing you, there's only 1 bedroom and 1 bathroom. So it cannot be a problem with the cadastral plan. That's what I want to say because, okay. And let's say one more thing, my friend. In Italy, generally, because there is also big discussion about the cadastral plan, many modifications, many upgrades in the house were illegal, let's say, are illegal. But these refer most to independent houses, terraced houses, villa, masseria, cascina. So if you go for these independent houses, if you go for independent houses, in probably 50% of the cases, you find that the cadastral plan is not matching with the real floor map. But when you're buying an apartment, my friends, you cannot really modify an apartment as you like. The structure of an apartment is that one. Maybe you might have a wall that has been knocked down simply because it's not one of the main walls. They decided to make a bigger open space. But that's really, believe me, that's not an issue. That's not a big issue. Uh, First of all, you can rebuild. To rebuild a wall is not expensive. I mean, that's a minor thing. The problem is when we have more windows than the house, or when we extended the house more, and so on. A lot to say. And then the last thing, a lot of properties listed for sale online, my friends, are fake. Now, if you have watched up to now, I have to say that many properties that I've made the videos of on my channel, unfortunately, are not for sale. They see, or maybe they've been sold already, and they keep them there simply because they are too good to be true. Okay, and this is pushing the buyer to contact the agency, and the agency might try to sell something else. Did you understand me? Did you follow? My friend, it's a kind of a bit long video, and I hope you're watching up to now, but there were a lot of information to say, about the housing, the estate agents, so a lot of information. My final question is, do they want to sell properties? Because for me, the way estate agents or realtors behave, my feeling is that they don't have any interest to sell properties. For me, they're just sitting there in their offices with a pen. If you go in a estate agent in Italy, if you enter in any, they're all sitting at the desk, and they're all, I don't know what they're watching on their laptops. They're all like this. I mean, I don't see them doing anything. Then I don't want to generalize. Okay, I see some are extremely efficient. Big names, maybe go for big firms. If you really want to go through estate agents, go always for big firms. Big firms have big numbers. Big numbers means more reliable, more efficient, more interest to sell properties. Okay, my friends, so this is it for today's video. I hope you have enjoyed this kind of sort of information about the properties and the estate agents for you to understand better the Italian house market and how it works when you're dealing with the agencies. So, my friends, I wish you a lovely day, and I'll see you here during the week, next week, for more properties for sale in the Italian market. Now, have a nice day, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.